Alright, so this is one of my potted cinnamons. And here's that distinct 3-vein leaf, very long leaf. You'll see the same 3-vein in camphor, and I think also in the Chinese cinnamon, you know, the toxic kind that we all eat because nobody really uses Ceylon cinnamon because it's too expensive or whatever. But this is the better kind. This is what they call true cinnamon. Anyway, I'll go show you the one over by the beehive, bigger. Yeah, so this beauty here, and that's all this guy with a bunch of lilikoi on it that's starting to die back because I just cut it back. And of course it's right at the entrance of my beehive, which I don't know if that was well planned or not. But I'm going to let this get a lot thicker before I take this guy down. Let this get at least a couple inches thicker at the base down there. Because they will become enormous trees and they will steal a lot of light. So at some point you're going to want to cut them back and let that new growth come up over a couple of years. And then you get your regular harvest going on, usually like I'm doing right at the end of spring. And you know, at least then all the new cambium that's come on has set. And you should have a nice good inner bark that's real sweet and delicious. Yeah, turning into a jungle around here. Yeah, alright. So I got some big logs of Cinnamomum Verum. It's maybe a 2.5 inch, 3 inch piece, and maybe 5+ years of growth. I gotta debark this guy and split it and dry it. There's the very top. There's your Cinnamomum leaf. You know, he's got those 3 prominent veins. And they're big, they're a big leaf. Unlike camphor cinnamon, which have small leaves on them. Yeah, I get scraping this. Yeah, so as I'm going down, this is what you want to get it to look like, right there. And you want to get this green stuff off. And I've already gotten the brown down. And scraping like that. Kind of use it like a carpenter's plane. And then you see how it kind of scallops up. You want to watch that a little bit because it can go down into the hard stuff, the cambium. And you don't want to nick up the cambium. You're just trying to get this high tannin, green, bitter off of the outside. And so that's what we're going for right there. And as you can see, I'm just using my buck knife like a carpenter's plane. And it's a lot of work. I mean, this is a tedious process. It's going to make my arm tired. And after maybe 40 minutes of this, I'll take a break before I do these other sticks. And one thing I found is when you're initially trimming your tree after you fell it, hit these branches, your lateral branches, fairly close. Don't worry about it too much. I did try and do branch cambium once, and it was a lot of work, and it didn't have nearly the essence that these guys have. And of course, see right there around the edge, that's spice. I mean, that's all good spice right there. But if this is flush, it just makes it easier all around. And then when we go to unroll this little peg can catch as it's trying to unroll. Anyway, I want to point that out. Alright, got this thing shut down. I'm not gonna lie, that took like a half an hour and covered in shavings. But now, we gotta split this cambium here off of the whole trunk. And I'm just gonna use my box knife. There we go. And basically draw it down. I'm going to cut about halfway because it's too hard to take one the whole length. It'll be like 3-foot lengths. And we'll start working them off with a butter knife. It works for me. So yeah. Alright. Now it's just like grafting. Once I get that up, then you can start pushing along the line. Nope, I don't want to crack it like that though. We're trying to work it up. That's what the tool is going to be for. Alright, finally popped it. That was a chore. Let's see. wet. It's wet wood underneath. And so that is your quill. And that's your cambium. That's all spice. Solid cinnamon, and that's naturally going to roll up as it dries up later. And they pack these into quills, and so they would take all the bits and pieces and put them into that with maybe a couple more of these wrapped around each other and let them curl into a nice stick. And they got a talent for how tight they made their quills. I'm not going to worry about that. Alright, so here we got all the big quills. And see, I got kind of some hollow spaces in there. And this is the material from the top of the branch, and it came off way more flaky and yeah, like that. So I've seen in documentaries that they pack it into the inside, so that's what I'm going to be doing here in a second, trying to fill up that void. Alright, now we're a couple days down the road of drying, and you can see they're really starting to coil up in there. You know, I'm sure I have a lot to learn as far as making a good quill goes, obviously. I'm sure any quill maker would look at this and just roll their eyes like, oh, what'd you do that for? But, you know, in the end, the spice is still the spice that it is. And this is enough cinnamon to last me for a year or two or more if it really mattered. But I will be selling some of this at market. It's so sweet. It's so sweet, so spicy. Ceylon cinnamon is, without a doubt, the best quality. And look at how thin it is, right? It's not like that Chinese cinnamon, the toxic cinnamon, that is super thick bark. Wow, this stuff is so nice. So nice and thin and sweet. In fact, I have to make sure the dry happens fast, otherwise they are prone to catching mold. If we got super humid all of a sudden, we'd almost have to emergency over to the west side where it's hot all the time just to make sure this stuff didn't mold on me, because yeah, there's probably be several $100 worth of cinnamon when it's all said and done. Probably more than several hundred.